Just what is restorative justice? Is it a solution for soaring dropout and expulsion rates? Is it a trendy term for no discipline at all? Hello, teachers. I'm Nancy with Escaping the Classroom, and I help teachers find genuine ways to start their own businesses. In today's lesson, we're going to take a look at restorative justice and schools, and we'll take a look at what it means for teachers. Let's get started. First, a little history. The concept of restorative justice originated in the criminal justice system. It refers to philosophy and practice of learning how an offender can restore the victim that they harmed. A theory of justice that emphasizes repairing the harm caused by criminal behavior and how it's best accomplished through cooperative processes that allow all willing stakeholders to meet. In practical terms, it requires offenders to meet these 5 conditions before they can be reintegrated into society. 1. Acknowledge the harm they did. 2. Express remorse. 3. Pay compensation or make some other amends to their victim or victims. 4. Show a prepared, definite plan for avoiding that behavior in the future. And number 5. Allow those most affected by the crime to have direct involvement in the process. With its emphasis on personal responsibility and prevention, this approach has had some success in the criminal court system. So, how did we get from the courts to the schools? In recent years, schools have taken up the same policy. It goes by other names like restorative practice, reflective practice, or positive behavior. Schools are increasingly adopting these policies to reduce school suspensions and dropout rates. There is evidence that schools with this policy have seen significant drops in the rates of suspension and expulsion. You'll hear about some teachers' takes on this a little bit later. In schools, the policy is seen as a better way to manage students who would normally be expelled or otherwise disciplined. Instead of sending a student home for a minor infraction, teachers and fellow students sit down with the student to discuss what happened, why it was wrong, and what can be done to prevent it. Expulsion and suspension are reserved for the very worst offenders. A pilot study of 3 California schools found that schools cut their expulsion rates by more than 80% in 2011. Proponents say that these policies work because they get students involved in the process. It gives them agency and accountability. An article in We Are Teachers describes a school in Fresno, California, where 2 8th-grade boys broke a paper towel dispenser in the bathroom. Rather than suspending the boys, the teacher had the school's custodian come and show them how much work it took to replace the dispenser. The boys had the option of either paying for the new one or working with a custodian to install the new one. On her blog, teacher Jennifer Gonzalez explains that some of the steps involved in a restorative policy include regular, sometimes daily meetings with students and teachers. Sometimes other adults sit in a circle to discuss what happened and what the offender's punishment should be. However, some teachers say that these policies are fine when it comes to minor infractions, but that restorative policies do nothing to help maintain discipline in the classroom. There is also some evidence that teachers are not reporting incidents of violence because of the push to keep expulsion rates low. A 2016 New York Post article described the violence and other criminal behavior at a school in Queens. Quoting the teacher, "They curse and threaten teachers, refuse to put away their cell phones, roam the halls, and openly deal drugs. Kids get away with it because the principal avoids suspending students to keep the numbers down," the teachers are charging. Remember those 5 steps in the model I mentioned earlier? Well, I hear from teachers whose schools aren't following the model. Students aren't acknowledging harm, they're not expressing remorse, and they certainly aren't making reparations. Here's an example of one comment I recently received. "The teacher needs to be involved. I'm finding in my school it seems as though we are left out of the mix. Students act out, go to the administration talks to them, and there's no further action. I would think that somehow the student should be required to sit with the teacher and talk to them. I had a student today who refused to work and ignored me. She goes on to say that the student then yelled at her, dropped the F-bomb on her, and was removed to the office and returned a little bit later with absolutely no explanation from administration. She continues by saying, "I do not find justice in the system that continues to ignore the teachers." In another case in San Francisco, in a school there, a female student was forced to take part in a circle with the two girls who brutally beat her. Her parents reported being pressured to take part in the procedure. They finally removed their daughter from the school. The two offenders remained. In Los Angeles, fed-up teachers complained to their union about school policies that endangered both teachers and students who were trying to learn. The union rep there shared part of an email he wrote to the union, quoting, "My teachers are at their breaking points. Everyone working here is highly aware of how the lack of consequences has affected the site." The article went on to quote a math teacher who asked, "Where is the justice for the students who want to learn? I'm afraid our standards are getting lower and lower." In Oklahoma, teachers complained to their union about the fact that suspensions were down, but violence and bad behavior were up. According to the union, 90%, that's a 90, 90% of the teachers noticed an increase in bad behavior. They also said that they got no support from their administrators to discipline students. One teacher went on to state, "I have 40 minutes of scheduled planning time and 30 minutes of scheduled lunch each day, but rarely get to utilize it because I'm dealing with discipline issues. This year I have acquired multiple bruises, bite marks, and a knot on my head from a student pulling my hair so hard. This is frustrating and makes me feel helpless." What is the future of classroom discipline? Most of us agree that lowering expulsion rates is a worthwhile goal for any school. Maintaining discipline in the classroom is also a worthwhile goal. However, while schools are finding a balance between restorative methods and real consequences for the worst offenders, they should not be letting teachers and students live in fear of unruly, violent students who believe they can get away with anything. You don't have to remain in this demoralizing, degrading situation. There are options. Whatever path you choose, I wish you all the best. That's it for today, class. I'm Nancy. If you'd like to see more options at escaping the classroom, just click the link below. If you found something useful in this video, please click the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.